Hello, and welcome to Sean Builds a Lisp. My name is Sean, and I am building a Lisp. Last time, we went through and fleshed out our string literal parser to handle escape sequences. And before that, we set up our number literal parser. So we have the basic primitives we need. We still need to do a regular expression literal parser. But we're going to save that for later. So what I'd like to do today is take those primitive parsers and bubble them up to the main read function so that we can start really working on our expander without too much trouble. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into our read table here. And so this is our main read table, and we want to basically use this to branch out into our more specific reader functions. And so if I open up our read.js function, basically the way this works is we have an input stream, which basically tracks the string that we're parsing and the current position that we're parsing so far. This first part is just so that input stream is a class, and I just want to be able to easily call read with a plain string, so that just wraps up a string input into an input stream. And so basically we just loop over the characters. We check the current character in our stream. We read trivia, which is essentially just reading any white space. Check to see if we're at the end of file. If so, we're just returning undefined for now. It should maybe be an error, but we'll see where that comes from. And so basically, after reading the trivia, we check the first character of the stream, and then we check our read table to see if we have a reader function for that character. Otherwise, we call our read symbol function. And finally, we take our reader function and read from the stream and return a syntax object. And so basically all that does, if we command click into that, is it looks at the type of our return, our result expression. If it's an array, we wrap it up in a Babel array expression, string literal, and we have a special symbol literal here. For reasons that I haven't really explained yet, but will hopefully become clear after we've fleshed out some things, and maybe that'll be a task for next time. So previously I had this temp test file where I had kind of set up some of my values. So what I'm going to do here is, let's grab this. So one thing we need to do is we need to tell Babel about our symbol literal AST type. So I'm not sure where I want to put this, but I definitely want to put it someplace central. So for now, what I'm going to do is basically when we load up the read function, I'm just going to do that right there. So we'll have to go grab some of these. Right. We need to grab the utils. And so this is using kind of a private API of Babel, but it's pretty central to how Babel works. So fairly confident that it's an okay thing to use. So I'm going to put it to do. Is there a better place to load this? But for now, whenever we call read, we'll need that. Cool. So basically, what we'll want to do is I'm going to pull my read table next to my read, just so that I can have a high overview of what the read function's doing, and read table. All right, so first thing we'll want to do is when we encounter an open parentheses, we will want to read list. So let's just do some requiring here. All right, so we'll need read list, read string, and read number. And of course these should, this is read string, and this guy needs to be read number. So basically, based on the current character at the head of the input stream, we'll branch to these different read functions. So the other thing we'll want is when we encounter a double quote, we will be using our read string function. And so if we have a 0, we will do read number. So I'm just going to kind of exhaustively put all our, basically whenever we encounter a digit, we'll want to call read number, and I'm just going to, oops, very stupidly add those entries to the read table. So, and 0, and if we have a dot, believe that's all we need. All right, so we also need to branch on read list. So in line here, I'm just going to put close parenthesis, and so this is going to be a function that takes the current stream, the current character, and the value that we're collecting so far. Now, read list will actually be looking at this. So let me take a look at read symbol. So basically, we can look at what the problem is. So basically, a read symbol simply collects any characters that are not white space, and our read list is essentially going to be deferring to read symbol for reading symbols. And so as it stands now, read symbol will literally gobble up our end parenthesis, and so read list will never find the end of the list. And so basically what we want to do here is to basically terminate the symbol when we encounter the end parenthesis. So this is totally not the right thing to do, but what I'm going to do is just in line here return the symbol, and basically that will terminate the symbol collection. Oops, not that. So basically we just are going to ignore the first two parameters and simply return a symbol. This is totally not the right thing to do, but we're going to go for it. So the other thing that I had done is I had actually made a read symbol table that our read symbol function uses, and I'm kind of thinking that I just want to combine read symbol into the main read function. So just to kind of simplify things, I realized that anytime you add to the root read table, you're actually going to want to add to the read symbol table as well. So I'm just going to basically collapse these things together. So here, if we have a reader, actually, let's just keep read symbol, but we'll just, let's just see if we can, we'll just pull from the main read table for our read table here. So the reason I paused there is that we've got our read number function that will basically we want to ignore read string, read number when we're already parsing a symbol. So just trying to think through how I want this to work. So previously the read symbol table kind of took care of that for us. So let's pop into read number real quick here. Oh, you know what? It's in /number/read number. All right, pop into that guy, maybe. There we go. So read number will be called with a value. And so basically, if value will return value plus read char. Does this make sense? So basically this is saying if we're already collecting some value, then we don't want to call read number because actually, you know what? Let's just keep the read symbol table. So basically what that means is we want to take this guy and add it to the read symbol table instead of the main table. And I imagine this is going to be something that we go back and forth on. So let's just delete that and we'll add this to the read symbol table. So basically this is saying terminate the symbol if the current character is an end parenthesis. Okay, and with that, we should be ready to parse some stuff. So if we grab read spec here, I'm gonna put this here. Let's just add some tests for those guys as well. All right, so describe, I think input, and we will, let's do a string. So this will be our stream. And it reads the string. I'm gonna look at my string tests just to kind of all right, I'm just going to do this guy. All right, let's describe input, and we'll just do 0, and we'll get a stream. Reads the number 0. And so expect read stream to equal 0 n. All right, let's do. All right, so now I'm just going to wrap these in simple describe functions that will kind of tell us what section of the test we are in. All right, so reading symbols is this guy. Describe strings. It'll be this guy. And describe numbers will be this guy. And so basically what I'm doing here is just kind of writing some smoke tests, mainly targeting the things that we've added to our read table. I'm also going to make one more describe for some functions we haven't written yet, and that'll be for lists. All right, so basically we're just going to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoa, that's not the right thing. How many do we have here? 0. One, 2, 3. We're just gonna kind of exhaustively write tests for each of these things, just for kicks. All right, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and dot. Oops. Let's just search for 3 and jump to that. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 4. All right, eventually I'll type the right thing. All right, so then this is 8, 8, 9, 9, and need that to be dot 0. Okay, let's just take a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and dot 0. All right. Alrighty. So I'm also going to delete this temp guy because he is kind of messing with the read tables, and we don't want to do that anymore. As well as our read list. We don't need to do this anymore. Yeah, so if we run our tests, we hope that they all still work. And of course they don't. It never turns out describe input is not defined. Okay. Let's see, what did I call that thing? Describe read input. All right, and we are in read.spec, so we will just search and replace. Describe input becomes describe read input. All right, let's try this one more time. Still no dice. CB is not a function. That's interesting. Yeah. Where was that? I'm just going to go through the stack trace and find this. Input. Oh. There we go. So this takes the read function as the first parameter. So describe read input. First parameter is the function, and then we have the input. All right, so we can search and replace again. Describe read input, parenthesis. We want that to be describe read input, parenthesis, read, comma, space. And let's try that one more time. There we go. All right. And I switched to using chai before I got out of this, so let's require that export. let's just go ahead and change this to expect. And this should be read. Oh, we're gonna have to wrap these in syntax objects. Oh, it didn't even run. Okay. So this needs to be syntax, and we'll have a space. Oops. And dun, 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 dun. All right, I'm just gonna do some copy pasta here. Let's get this going. Oops. Okay, that's it. All right, so then let's do search for equal, comma. Oops. Yeah, I don't think I actually am using the length parameter right now, so. Oops. And okay. Let's try this one more time. Still no dice. Let's see, what do we have in? I don't know. All right, we are trying to require expect, not export, and get rid of assert. Ready? Still no. Let's see. Oh. Okay, so I think most of these are numbers, so we can search for that. Oops. And just making our syntax compile. Okie dokie. And still okay. So I'm just gonna search for that at the end of a. Okay, where the heck are we? Just bigger. Mocha mocha. Oh, come on. I don't see my code in the stack trace anywhere. Pain in the butt. Okay. I'm not sure where this parenthesis is missing. Oh, there it is. Okay, maybe we're there. Reader's not a function. Oh, that's cool. Read list. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and debug that. Okay. What do we have? We have an empty object. Alright, so let's see here. What's our character? Is an open parenthesis. Let's see, our read table. Okay. Alright, so we are probably modifying the read table someplace bad. Let's see. Huh. Alright, well, that's cool. Well, heck, how'd that happen? Alright, where are we in the stack trace? We're in readList.spec. Alright, and here. Alright, just looking through the stack trace to see if I can figure out how I might have screwed this up. Alright, let's just search for read table then and see if we're modifying this anywhere. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch to my launch.json. I have a kind of run current file here, and so I'm gonna change this to read list so that we're only running the list. I'm gonna put a breakpoint here. Actually, let's put it in read. Okay. And we will, I think we're still running all our tests. We need to switch to test current. And I'm just going to close some of these files while that boots up. All right, let's add some watch expressions. So basically this will just constantly be evaluating every time we're here so that we can just see, oh my gosh, our read table's already messed up. Okay. Read table. It's interesting that we got into read list somehow. Let me just make sure this is defined as a function. Yeah. Okay, let's step over. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna just put a breakpoint in read table and rerun. Let's just see what the value of read list actually is. Make sure it is our function. All right, so we should have a read list. Okay. What in the world is happening? All right, so we're in read table dot slash. Wait. Wait, where is read list? That's here. Okay. And it's right next to read table. Shoot, you know what? This is a problem. Okay, so it's because we have a circular dependency. I'm pretty sure this is because we have a circular dependency. So we're requiring read in read list. And in read, we're requiring read table. And in read table, we're requiring read list. And so basically module.exports is not set yet. I think when I was doing my parser combinators, I had a very similar bug. All right, so how shall we handle this? All right, so for now, I'm just going to do something pretty All right, I'm just going to do something really dumb. All right, so we will set up binding for read table. And if not read table, then we'll set it. Fingers crossed. Yep, great. Okay, so let's to do how to load initial read table. And so basically what I'm doing is deferring the require of read table until the read function is called, and then at that point we have already instantiated the read function, so it will break the circular dependency, and by deferring it until basically runtime instead of load time. And this is definitely not ideal, but it will work for now because I think I'm going to want to go and refactor our whole read table setup anyway. And so this gets us to the point where we are parsing our primitives. And so this is fun. We've got a bunch of tests. They're all passing. And so we officially have a parser. It's not the final parser, but it's there. So it's 3 o'clock. What shall we do? So we could either jump into our expander and continue to work on that. The other thing I was thinking about maybe trying to do today is making a printer. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we'll make a new module. We'll call this printer. All right, so cd. So I'm going to cd into that directory that I just created. Whoops. node modules, blisp printer, and I'm just gonna run npm init. Our name will be blisp/printer. And we'll just stub out everything else for now. So, as one might expect, we'll have a print function. Function print, and this will take a form. All right, so how shall we work on this? Let's see. Okay, so actually I'm going to call this syntax. And so first we'll switch on the type of syntax. And of course we'll want to check array.is array syntax. So we will return. This is just going to be really, really dumb for now. Syntax dot map. Just call it item, and we will map this with. We'll print each item, and then we'll join that with spaces. So eventually we'll make this a pretty printer that will take into account line length, but for now we'll keep going. So if it's an object, then we will want to switch on syntax.type. And so array expression, and we can just simply call print on syntax.elements. If we have a symbol literal, we will return, this will just be syntax.value, and we want symbol.key for this guy. All right, case string literal. All right, so we will need to print some escapes. Here's what I'm gonna do. Actually gonna grab, let's see, const. I'm gonna just grab generate from Babel. And so how this works is we will just call generate, and the AST will be the syntax, and this will be the same for numeric literal. This should be .code. And that's it. I think that now we can have print stuff. And it's totally incomplete, but we'll get there. So let's add our printer tests. So we will add print.js. And like always, left and right. Oh, that should be print.spec. Okay, so we will describe module. And this module is at blisp/printer/print. That gives us our print function. So let's describe. So basically I'm gonna just, I think I'm just going to build the syntax by hand. So this is going to be blisp/reader/syntax. Actually, let's just grab the read function. Why not? So then we can let's see. Going to go back to, whoops. Going to go back to our helper functions and see if we have something good for this. I'm just going to make another function here, global.describe input, and this is just going to take an input and a callback and return callback with the input. And so this is really, really simple. Let me get my syntax right here. So this is really, really simple, but what it'll allow me to do here is basically I can type my form here, do that, and then get that input back out and have a reference to it. So I only have to edit what I'm actually testing once. Okay, so heck, let's describe print input. Callback. And so basically what we can do here is turn describe. I think I'm gonna start writing these kind of in our Lisp, in the description function. So basically input. All right, oops, prints input. Oops, that needs to be a string template. All right, so we'll also want to grab expect. In destructured form. So let's expect read input to equal input. So basically my input is already in the form that we're printing, so I can just compare it. Let's try that. Nope. All right, we need to get out of here. npm test. Okay, no clue. Okay, so I am going to set my test current to do our print spec, and let's just go ahead and do a breakpoint. All right. Let's see what input is. Read. How silly. We're not actually calling our print function. Okay, that's fun. All right, let's just go ahead and run this from the terminal. It's a bit faster. Undefined is not a symbol. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, looks like we're gonna debug this after all. Okay, we have an array expression, so we're going to jump here, jump in there, let's step in. Great. Next, so we have symbol literal. Oh, it's not value, it's name. Okay, symbol key for syntax dot name. Okay. And let's just see the output of our print. Prints. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna jump that up there again. What was it? Okay, so blisp. All right, my it's not printing what I expected. So I expected a description of the test. So I'm gonna find that index.js. Oh, right. I didn't actually do this, and this will be, and we are going to return callback with input. So we want this to be describe print input. Actually, I'm going to jump into my package.json and make my current test that. Make this print. And so we'll npm run test current instead of npm test, and that will just run our print function. All right, so r prints foobar. Great. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead. Generate. Oh yeah, that's right. It's the default export in that. Okay, so print.js. The problem is generate is not a function, because if we jump into Babel generator, we can see that, where is this? All right, module dot exports. All right. Well, anyway. Oh, that's interesting. So this is actually code generator. I wonder if this is, yeah, it's stateful. Okay. Anyway, I think that basically if I tack on a default here, we'll get what we want. Great. And then, just kind of inlining these. Ooh. Wait a second. We never imported is white space. How did this ever work? Yeah, this is in the parent directory. Is white space. All right, let's try that one more time. All right, well, that's frustrating. So this is the same bug that we had in our read symbol function. Excuse me one moment. Okie dokie. Okay, so we are hitting the limits of our halfway implemented read tables. Let's jump into read number real quick here. So basically, all right, I'm just gonna comment out this exception. We're gonna have to kind of think about how we want to structure our reader functions. No. Okay, no type, array expression. No, spread got undefined. All right, where are we here? All right, let's see what our value is here. Oh, you know what? You know what we never did? Do we have a syntax test file? Because we're not doing anything with numbers. Whoa, goodness. Okay. syntax.spec. Let's just verify that. And over here we want syntax.js. So let's do our normal thing, describe module. This will be blisp/reader/syntax. And that will give us our syntax function. All right, describe. All right, I'm not sure what I want here. All right, so let's do describe syntax with Alright, I'm kind of switching how I'm writing my tests now, and that's fun. It returns a string literal. And so if we, oh, for heaven's sakes. All right, let's grab expect from chai. And this will be foo. No, what are we doing? We're doing symbol. Okay, symbol for foo. Okay, so we expect this to give type symbol literal, and name will be that. Alright, so describe. I'm just going to copy that and we'll adjust. Okay, and then this will be just foo. Value. Should probably change name to value. I'm probably going to mess this up a lot. And let's just make this 0. And this is going to be 0. Alright, so this should be numeric literal. And this should be string literal. All right, so let's go ahead and just set up that test. And let's run that. Great. Okay, so where are we here? We're lost. We're looking for syntax.js. Okay, so case number. Let's return t.new numeric literal with the value. And that again. Okay. Symbol literal, string literal, numeric literal. Okay. And then we get back into our package JSON. Good. Oops. Go back to testing our print function, and hopefully that works now. All right, so basically, when we print out our numeric literal, we are printing out the value, not the raw string, so it won't actually be the same in that case. So basically, I'm just gonna do this, replace 0.0 with 0, why not? Okay, let's make sure that our tests aren't lying so that we use this in the same place. Great. Okay, so the reason that I wanted to do that is jump to our expander test. I just kind of want to make this a little easier on myself. I'm just gonna clear out. I'm just gonna clear out everything. Let's start fresh. All right. Expand and expand spec, and let's come on. Actually, I probably don't need print yet. So basically, all right, the other thing we'll do is jump into our little test helpers here. Let's describe, oops. All right, what do we want to call this? Global.describe syntax equals function describe syntax, and take our input string and callback function. And so basically turn describe All right, I'm gonna grab my read function, blisp /reader/read. And so, let's see here. And we'll call our callback function with read input. And so basically just kind of actually, okay, so let's that's a little too much. We don't want to tie this to that, but all right, so instead what we'll do is we'll grab our printer /print. All right, so describe print input, and we'll call back with the syntax. So basically just kind of want to, for setting up my tests, I want the input to print like, I want the input to be a syntax object, but print to the test display like an S expression. So I'm going to jump back to package.json and set this to run my expand test file. And let's try out this new function. So I'll do describe syntax, and this is the guy that we've got. That will give us, oops, a callback function with our syntax. So now we can, whoa, all right. Replace this with our syntax. All right, let's just fix that. Okay, let's see what happens. Nothing. Big input is not defined. I think I just renamed something and forgot to rename it everywhere. Print syntax. All right. Hello, welcome, Nitrixin. For those of you that don't have your eye on the chat or are watching this later, he or she says, these tests alone are looking very Lisp-like. I will take that as a compliment, I think. I hope. Okay. My print function just did not work at all. I got a bunch of spaces. Oh, that's because this is actually not right. This should be syntax. Symbol. I think that these will get, once we're done with the language, we can write some macros for these and our tests will be way simpler. All right. These need to be symbols. Question on the chat. Are you going for CL in the expression syntax or doing some things differently? The answer is not quite sure yet. I want writing macros to feel like Common Lisp, but I think I'm also going to see if I can make them hygienic like Scheme. So kind of in between. So basically, this is a great thing. I've been going back and forth on this for a long time. What I want to do is I need syntax objects in order to support source maps for the JavaScript that I emit. So I really like the feel of symbolic processing like Common Lisp or the traditional Lisp. So I want my macros to feel that way, but just by necessity to support source maps, I already need syntax objects. So if I need syntax objects, why not use them to try and make things hygienic? So for as far as that goes, it's a pretty clear path to have hygienic macros. It's a little less clear to how I will actually emit the JavaScript when like a macro emits a symbol that should be resolved to a function. it's going to depend on the module system, how that function gets loaded, and it's not super clear to me how I'm going to do that yet. I think I'll be able to. But since I control all the macro expansion, definitely macros will be hygienic. And probably what we'll do is basically when you invoke the compiler, you'll say, I want to use common JS modules or ES6 modules. And based on that, we might be able to emit import statements and require statements after macros have been expanded. But yes, I haven't done any. So those of you that don't have your eye on the chat, Nitrixin says at least you'll benefit from JS V8's JIT optimizations, and that is definitely true. And once I actually have a programming language that compiles, I will probably do some profiling and see if there are any routes that I can take that will do that for me. Yep. So yeah, moral of the story is I want macros to feel like common Lisp, but they won't be strictly common Lisp, just because in order to support source maps, like a string can't just be a string, it needs to be an object. And so I don't want to hide that away from the user. The real point of building this language is that like it's not a programming language, it's a compiler API. So when you're writing in the programming language, you're actually writing compiler instructions. And so, getting back to this, feel free to keep asking questions. I love answering questions and hearing myself talk. All right, so this should be log and this should be console. We should probably have our pretty printer also print things like identifiers, but really these should be symbols. So let's run that and see what we get. Ugh. Oh, need to require our syntax function. All right, const syntax equals require blisp / reader / syntax. And let's see if that runs. Still no. Yep. All right. I just need to. So basically, I need to. This error is that as I'm building the Babel AST nodes, it is doing some validation, and I have not told Babel about my symbol literal because I am doing that in when the read function is loaded. So basically, I'm just going to require that read function just so that we tell Babel that we have a new AST node. All right, now I'm surprised. Let me just verify that I'm actually doing what I thought I was doing. Yep, okay. Oh my goodness. You know what? I think I have to do this first. That's gonna be a pain. No, still no. Whoops. All right, I'm gonna try just calling my own syntax function for this as well. Maybe, fingers crossed, that will work. Then all right, let's just debug it. All right, launch.json and tell, where is this? All right, print instead of that. We want to run expand.spec, and wish there was an easier way to kind of dynamically pass this in. There are some, but anyway. Okay, so we're in expand, and okay, just going down the call stack to see if there's anything that might hint at this. It's really interesting. All right, I'm gonna put a breakpoint in read.js and just validate to myself that we're actually telling Babel about this AST node. Okay. Well, this is working in all my other tests. I don't know what's what's going on now. All right, let's just take a look. Where are we? All right, so this is in Babel types, and all right, I'm gonna try something just really dumb here. I'm just gonna call this an expand.js and see if that fixes it, and maybe that'll give us a hint about what's actually going wrong. All right, try that again. I guess we don't need that breakpoint. Maybe, hopefully. Oh my gosh. Of course it's not. I didn't require that stuff, so we need to grab this. I'm just gonna copy pasta from the read function, as one does. Let me just all right, I'm gonna try that. Okay, I'm gonna try one more dumb thing. Okay. Eventually we will get back to our expand function. All right. Define it before we require from that, and fingers crossed. Well, shoot, I could have sworn that I Tested this fully and it was working. Okay, let's okay, let's see. So somewhere okay, let's just investigate. Node. Okay. Types. Let's see what types is. Oh. Okay, here's the actual problem. It does need to be an identifier, and so basically our member expression macro needs to expand its arguments. Let's see. So let's just make this a function. It's going to take an object and all right. Here's where it gets tricky. Actually, what are these called? I can't remember. All right. Types. Object property. Actually, you know what we can do is we can just say member expression. Man, something dumb. Let's see. Oh, I need to map them. All right, we didn't do the expand. Dot map expand. Okay. Arg expand arg in rn. Let's try. Let's see. Fingers crossed. Still no. Oh. Wait. Oh, I just closed VS Code. All right, so we want to set up our env after we require expand in our little module here, our module description. All right, let's see. There we go. Okay. So when we define our macros, So basically the problem there was that a macro by definition receives its arguments before they're compiled. Unevaluated. Our version of evaluation is compiled. So we want to call member expression, and that member expression then needs to actually compile its arguments, which it uses through the expand function. But in order to do that, it needs to have the environment. If we were to go and define our member expression elsewhere, we wouldn't have our environment. So right now, I'm pulling the environment from the closure, but really what you would do is you would say like macro member expression and then I would return. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of type random stuff here. Turn ... args map. Whoops. Expand. Yeah, we'll just do something like this. Arg, expand, arg, and so, ignoring the red squigglies, the problem is when we define our macro for member expression here, we won't actually have the env because we're defining the macro. So once we're actually compiling our macros, nope, we need to do something else. So I think what we're gonna do is, and this is how both Common Lisp and Scheme actually work, is when you define a macro, what you're actually doing is defining a function that takes the entire S expression form and kind of wraps it. So basically we need to take this and expand it into basically the form member expression form and then we'll call like, anyway. So our macros will be functions that take two arguments. The first argument is the form to be expanded, and the second argument is the environment. And then we can have a shortcut for like macro that will essentially expand into the function that we need. So I'm going to delete that because we're still in JavaScript. We don't have a programming language yet. All right, so we'll jump over to expand. So here, we were essentially slicing to get the arguments and calling our function with those arguments. And so instead, we don't need rest. What we need to do is call resolved with. So here's another comment from the chat. I like how you already wish you had Lisp to implement your Lisp, and that is totally true. One thing I actually considered doing is essentially similar to what I have here. I mean, this is an S expression in my language that we're expanding for the test. I thought about actually writing the expander first and then writing the reader in JavaScript by rolling my S expressions by hand, but then I decided that might be a little too much. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll look at the first element of the array. That will be our macro if it exists, so we'll resolve it. And if it's resolved, we'll call it with the syntax and our environment. So what that means is that this guy will get the form and the env, and so basically we're going to call member expression with so here's a great question. Do we want to call this with the in array or the syntax? The syntax object. I'm going to go with syntax for now, and we'll see. So instead of form, let's call this syntax. So this will be syntax dot elements, and we're gonna slice those from 1. Now we've got our args, we can expand our arg, and we get our env. All right, let's try it. I'm gonna run it in the terminal because it's a little bit faster. Oh yeah, I closed VS Code, so this is gonna take a minute to boot. Oh, great. Okay, first, and so this will be and we're probably going to go back and forth on this decision as well. Okay, cool. So that expands, and it takes a really long time. You know what? I think it's taking a really long time because of the Babel generate call. I looked at this a little bit before. So what I'm gonna do is in my little test function here, I'm printing syntax. So I'm just going to print something, print a dummy thing, and see if that still takes so long. And yeah, it does. Okay. That is incredibly slow for a very simple S expression. That's a big bummer. All right, I'm trying to think of a simple way that I can profile this. Shoot, this is a bummer. All right, I'm just gonna throw a console.time on every expand. Whatever. I just want something unique for each expansion here. All right, we need to save that as variable. All right, alrighty, here we go. Let's do this. Okay, grab that, put that there. So basically, I'm just going to throw a console.time around each call to expand, and see if that's what's taken so long. And so we need to do, before we return every time, end our timer. Okay, let's see. Yeah, just make it big. Well, that's strange because the longest expansion takes 6 milliseconds. And we are wasting 194. What the heck are we doing? What else are we doing? All right. I'm just gonna. All right. So this is what we expect it to expand into. I'm just gonna pull it outside the it function. All right. We need to assign it to variable. Yeah, what is taking so long? All right. So call that with expected. All right, let's just run it. Oh my goodness. The call to member, this member expression call, what? Console.time expected. So basically, I'm really surprised. It seems like this member expression call is what took so long, but we're doing the same thing in inside expand. So that's really, really quite strange. All right, so let's just time that also. Why is that taking so long? Our expand function is doing even more work than that, and it's gonna call the same thing. We're calling member expression there, and then calling it here. Unless we're not actually calling it there. Okay. So basically what I'm doing now is I am just making my my macro symbol different from the Babel function call to see if I'm doing something weird. Wait a second. Oh, that was the second one. This guy. All right. Let's cut down on the noise from our test. Wonder if there's some crazy initialization that Babel's doing here. I think that's probably what's going on. It's probably the first time you call a Babel builder function, it has to do a bunch of work. So let's just do another, we'll just call this again with another time. Let's see. All right, I'm just gonna comment these out because it's a little distracting. Oops. Nah, okay. So I think it's just the first time we call a Babel builder function, we have a bunch of initialization to set up, so that's okay. So we'll just keep that outside the actual test so that we don't get another false positive like that. All right, so kind of got lost on. All right, let's delete these guys over here. Don't need them anymore. Okay, so we've got our parser. We think that we are expanding macros. Wait, are we testing the same thing twice here? Seems a little silly. All right. Oh, no, we're testing that. Okay. So the first one tests just the member expression, and the second one tests that we expand multiple times. Okay, so kind of thinking, all right, let's get rid of these ones again so that it looks okay. Just cleaning up all the stuff I just messed up. That's it. Okay, so we've got our reader working on basic primitives at least, and now we've brought that up to speed with our expander. And then what else? I'm just wondering if there's anything else I want to try to do today. I don't have too much more time. All right, so I'm thinking I might write a quote function. This will probably open a big can of worms. But heck, let's see what we break. All right, so resolve. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. That is just wrong. All right, so one thing I think we're not handling is macro returning macros. But so let's just do macro returning macros. All right, I'm going to copy this test. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a nested member expression and see what we get. So basically, we'll have another array where the first, I'm gonna simplify that. All right, so foo And then I think we want log to come outside. And all right. So we have a member expression where the object is foo. Oops. All right, so we want whoops. Foo.bar, and then we'll just do baz. All right, so just a generic thing that wouldn't actually run. And our expected will be foo bar baz. All right, where am I going? All right. We have a member expression where the first one is a member expression, and then there we go. I think that's what we're looking for. Oh, I never put this print back in here. Okay, let's do that. Oh, it's a macro. This is just a, this isn't actually a macro returning macro. We need to, I'm gonna go into my env and just write another little test macro here. Let's just call it console log. And so this will take syntax and an env, and what do we want this guy to return? Let's just return. Actually, let's just return console.log. So just literally this. All right. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm introducing a second macro that will return a list that has a macro itself. And I'm pretty sure that when we call this, we're not going to get what we're expecting. So this will be console log, and let's just log foo, and we expect this to expand to the same thing. I'm just going to copy paste. Okay. Wait, what? Syntax is not a function. It looks like a function to me. Oh. Did I mess something up? What an idiot. Okay, we can't call this syntax. I'm just gonna call it form. Although this guy doesn't even need arguments. Okay, let's go for it. Okay, we broke a lot of stuff. So just make this bigger. All right, so what's different here? Okay, so I think what we want to do is actually write some macro expand functions. Module dot exports equals I'm just going to call this I'm not sure I want to actually do this. Let's just do it in line until we know for sure what we're doing. All right, so if we call if we can just call expand on the result and then just kind of recurse through or not. Syntax.elements. I renamed this. For heaven's sakes. Still no dice. Oh. That was closer. Oh, we didn't pass our end. Where are we? Expand.js. We need to pass the env into expand. Closer. Okay, so we have a callee, which is a member expression console.log, and okay, this diff is just a little wonky. Wait, which one was that? Let's look. Yeah, it's that one. Let's see. All right, I'm just going, somehow we got a call expression out of this. All right, so console log will return a list of 3 elements: member expression, console, and log, and then we'll return member expression, and then at that point we should return the default because it's a base AST node. So I'm just going to put a breakpoint there and run this. Where are we? Oh, we have an extra syntax wrapped around here. So that is actually, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to. It's just not what we want. There we go. Great. Okay. I'm gonna put a to-do comment here because I think this is probably not the greatest thing to do here. To do, this is how we Okay, so I think I'm gonna call that good for today. So let's look at where we are with our Git. We've got some stuff to add. Node modules, blisp/printer. And I'm just gonna copy this guy. And see, git status, and what did we do? We shout root read table. Right, simple print function. Some work on expander. Good enough. Let's push that up. Okay, so that's great. So now we have our reader. We have a nice printer, and now we get to really think about how we want the expansion to unfold, and that's a great place to be in. So thanks for watching, everybody, and Happy New Year. Until next time.